All right, April, thanks for joining me on the podcast to talk about the Cheerio Challenge. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
So why don't we start by you just doing a quick introduction of who you are, how you got into this work, and what you do at CHUM.
Okay, great. My name is April Ledoux. I'm the Director of Distributive Services at CHUM Food Shelf. I've been here for roughly 4 years, and I used to do CHUM to go when I got started here. And when the opportunity came up for the director position, I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity just because I used to be a single mom with 3 kids, and just being able to find different services and being able to put food on the table was so important as a single mom. So I have such a passion for what I do, and I just love it here.
So before we talk about the Cheerio Challenge itself, I wanted to talk a little bit about CHUM as an organization. I think a lot of people who maybe don't follow CHUM that closely think of it as, the shelter, obviously, which is an important component, and the food shelf, which is also an important component, but is just a piece of what CHUM does. Can you talk about sort of all the different programs or components of what CHUM does?
Yeah, I have the schedule kind of packed down. We have a service Monday through Friday. So every Monday we are at Our Savior's Lutheran Church. That's at 10 a.m. till noon. The address is 31 Grand Avenue. We do serve roughly around 55 people there every Monday. Tuesdays, we have Chum to Go. So we have like different pop-ups on every Tuesday. We are introducing Harbor Highlands for a pop-up. It's kind of just a mobile pantry that people can use and get boxes of food and produce and et cetera, et cetera. Midtown Manor is the second Tuesday. Rainbow Center is the third Tuesday. And we also utilize Gary, New Duluth because it's such a big food desert out there. Every Wednesday right at our downtown location in 20 North First Avenue West. We do roughly serve 120 people every Wednesday, and that's 72 to 80 boxes. Plus, we do shelter bags for everybody who is in need that can't utilize a full box. Thursdays, we go through Chum to Go again. And the pop-ups, we usually have around 20 to 25 boxes per pop-up. So we have Chum to Go deliveries, which is on a volunteer base. We deliver boxes to people who are just homebound and, maybe they have anxiety, they can't get out, senior citizens, whoever we can help out with that. That is up to 35 boxes for deliveries, and that's the first and third Thursday of every month. The second Tuesday is United Press Protestant Church that is out in Morgan Park. And the fourth Thursday, we help our veterans on that day. So we go to MacV and also the Ramsey apartments that are right next door. They're in so much need right there. So it's really great. Fridays are our produce day. So it's kind of nice. We have fresh produce on that day. We buy shares from local farmers. So I have 7 farmers that I'm in touch with, and I end up buying 65 shares every season. Or every come summertime.
I try and track what CHUM does, but a lot of what you just said, I didn't know, like
Yeah.
about the pop-ups and serving at different community points, not just the downtown location,
Mm-hmm.
and helping out veterans, and that sort of farm to table component of it too is really great. Supporting local farmers and providing local fresh produce is really great. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're the only food shelf in the area that I know of that actually buys the CSA shares from the farmers that we can give out and help out the community. It's so expensive to eat healthy, so I think it's so important to keep the program going and be able to provide the best we can for them.
Yeah. I know the food shelf is that's your expertise. Can you speak to the other programs that CHUM operates? I know that there's an expansion underway, and some changes in the shelter with moving to Damiano temporarily.
So we have St. Francis, which is 55 and older that stay there. Steve O'Neill is more for family housing. That's up at 4th Street. The shelter is at the Damiano Center, which has kind of changed our numbers here for giving out shelter bags to people. And of course, our admin's down on 1st Street. But the expansion, I believe it's going to take another year and a half, 2 years for it to be finished for everybody to move back in. So it's pretty exciting. The food shelf we're still here. And with the expansion, it's kind of, a lot of people were confused on if the food shelf moved locations and donations were going to Damiano Center. So it was a little confusing. I hope we fixed that little bump, but Yeah, it's been there's exciting things. We've also for the food show for St. Francis, the Warming Center, and Steve O'Neill, I've introduced a new program called Pantry. So they set up a pantry location in where in them three places that the clientele can go and get food whenever they want. So whether it's donuts, ramen noodles, stuff for at Steve O'Neill so they can go and make kitchen meals. It's all right there accessible for them. So they're not getting a box of what it's just going to sit in your cupboards and they can actually go down and, get hamburger pizzas or whatever we have.
When I was looking at the plans for the expansion of the shelter, there's a couple of statistics that were pretty staggering to me. That the old shelter is 9,700 square feet. The new one is going to be 23,000 square feet, which is an increase in bed capacity from 80 to 160. And that's because the building was built for 30 beds, but is seeing 125 guests every night. So
Uh-huh.
way over capacity,
Yeah.
and definitely something that was needed to serve our community and folks that are unhoused.
Yeah, yeah. The homeless community, it's very not understood. A lot of people don't understand, but they just go thinking that it's all drug use and everything. And it's pretty sad with how much the homeless community is growing. So I'm really excited for the new building for them to be able to house more people.
I was looking at CHUM's website, and you guys have a great website, by the way. And like the FAQ, whoever did that on the expansion did a really good job of covering all of like the intricacies of the move and why it's needed and all of that. So and then it lays out all the different programs that CHUM does. So for listeners, if you're not familiar or want to learn more about CHUM, check out chumduluth.org. There's a bunch of information there, and obviously is where you can donate financially to Chum's work. So we have the Cheerio Challenge coming up. This will be the third annual, and you've been around for all three of them. I remember that when we did the first challenge, I had asked the partner organizations, like, what does need look like, or what does programming look like to meet the need? And the number from Chum was that 800 boxes of cereal are distributed every month. And then we updated that last year to be 1,300 boxes of cereal every month. What does the need look like in 2026, and what are you seeing from the community?
So I definitely see a bump going up. I'm assuming in the next couple months, we're going to be probably around 1,400. Right now, we're at 14,400 boxes a year. So it definitely is the need is just going up more and more and more with it. It's we're just trying to do the best we can with what we have, you know. But we did distribute altogether 576,122 pounds of food last year.
It's incredible.
Yep.
And to think about, folks haven't been to the food shelf. It's not a big operation,
No,
right?
no, it isn't.
And so for that operation to do over 500,000 pounds of food is pretty incredible, and on what seems like a pretty shoestring budget, which I think points out or really highlights the need for things like the Minnesota Food Share campaign and the Cheerio Challenge, and the importance of people donating food
Mhm.
during this time to really shore up those foodstuffs for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, because that's less food that we have to order, you know. Then we can concentrate on other things that, we need that need to go in boxes. The Cheerio challenge is absolutely huge. We went from households served last in 2024 was 4,624 people came in here. Last year was 10,500. So it's jumping so much. And, our donations for foods donated, it's 315,411. So that's even a low number to how much food was distributed. So that tells you right there how much we depend on donations and food drives and everything else.
Yeah, and I would imagine, when we see these sort of macroeconomic forces happening with inflation and jobs and energy prices spiking, food prices spiking, you all see that on several fronts, I would think,
Mhm.
of, you know, n- more people needing the services, but then also giving becomes more difficult for people because prices are up.
Yep.
And so what do those sort of dynamics look like for you all at the food shelf?
Definitely puts a kink into getting the donations that we need here. The price of living goes up, the price of food goes up, mortgage, rent, gas, phone bills, everything. And that definitely puts a damper on things here for our donations.
Yeah.
But, and that reflects, like when we had the government shutdown, our numbers were going crazy. It was a stressful event, but you have to take it by the horns and do the best you can. And I was trying to create different programs. I was thinking ahead of people who were working without pay. How can we help them? How can we help this community? And we don't ID anybody. We don't ask for any income. We don't need to know any of that. Our goal here is just to make sure we can get you a week's worth of food, and you're welcome to utilize it every week if needed.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, I think you alluded to this, but like how there's just not a good understanding of what the need looks like or in what situations people utilize both the shelter and the food shelf.
Uh-huh.
That it's like, it's only necessarily people that are chronically needing the services, but it's really probably a high percentage of people will use the services at some point in their life and then don't use it again. I remember I used the food shelf when I was in college and struggling to make ends meet. And then I started volunteering at CHUM to give back. So I sort of felt that full circle of they were there when I needed them.
Uh-huh.
And then, um, giving back when I was in a better place and didn't need the services, but could spend time volunteering. So
I love that. That's awesome.
well, thank you so much for joining me for the podcast. We're going to have some of our other partners on as well to talk about their programs and services,
Yeah.
um, and encourage folks to come out and drop off Cheerios or other non-perishable food items at one of our drop-off locations, March 23rd and March 28th.